Lady Sogyal asked the Master, "How does one identify the original wakefulness that is Dharmata?" The Master replied, "The pith instruction in recognizing original wakefulness is like a skilled doctor who diagnoses a disease by means of the sick person's demeanour, pulse, or urine. Similarly, the yogi should use three things: the Buddha's words, their guru's instructions, and their own experience to recognize original wakefulness that is all pervasive like space. The total immediacy of original wakefulness is like the sun striking a mirror's surface. In the same way, the yogi should remain in the total immediacy of original wakefulness, free from any lucid images. The key instruction for naturalness of the six collections is like a person struck by an illness who holds no concepts of shyness or embarrassment. In the same way, the yogi should remain without forming concepts about any of the perceived objects. The direct encounter with original wakefulness is like a wonderful healer who can use everything he or she touches as a means to a cure. Similarly, once the ambrosia of the view is obtained, the yogi should use everything as means for original wakefulness. The pith instruction for quietening the mind is like a turtle unable to move when placed in a basin. In the same way, the yogi's mind is unable to move once he or she has taken hold of it with the guru's instruction. All these pith instructions are the way to identify the original wakefulness that is Dharmata. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, "What is the method of settling this self-existing wakefulness?" The Master replied, "There are three methods for settling your mind. To settle like a Garuda soaring in the sky means that the Garuda soars when its wings are exhausted. It soars without effort or achievement. It soars while clearly seeing the land below. It soars while possessing the abilities of everyone beneath it. And it soars with fully developed wing power immediately upon hatching from the egg. In the same way, when settling into composure, the yogi should settle his or her exhausted mind without effort, and while seeing the principles of the higher vehicles, while containing the abilities of the lower vehicles, and while possessing the awakened state, even though remaining in samsara. To settle it like a swallow entering its nest means to do so without any further deliberation. The yogi should likewise settle his or her mind without any further deliberating thoughts. To settle like a person who has given up all activities means not to adjust or modify the state of mind, no matter what it is. In the same way, the yogi should not adjust, modify, or otherwise contaminate his or her state of mind, no matter what it is. Lady Sogyal asks the Master, how many ways are there to safeguard awakened mind? The Master replied, there are 3 ways to safeguard it. Safeguard it as you would a wild horse, which should be tamed undistractedly. Similarly, the yogi should remain undistracted from the nature of the view. Safeguard it as you would a treasure of precious gems, which, unless you make efforts to protect it, is vulnerable to bandits and thieves. Similarly, the yogi should remain invulnerable to dullness and agitation, lest they allow their samadhi to stray. Safeguard it as a king would his queen, so that people are unable to hurt the queen, as they are all included among her subjects. In the same way, The yogi should remain so that thoughts can cause no harm, since he or she has realized all phenomena to be mind. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, "How many ways are there to improve awakened mind?" The Master replied, "There are 3 ways to improve awakened mind. Improve it like a thief in an empty house. The thief leaves as there is nothing to steal. Similarly, when coarse or subtle thoughts occur, the yogi should observe them and then simply remain. Improve it like a cloud in the sky. The cloud that forms in the sky vanishes by itself. In the same way, a thought should be left to subside by itself. Improve it like using a spell to counter a poison. A person who knows a spell that counteracts poisons is capable of remaining unharmed by such poisons. Similarly, the yogi who possesses the pith instructions can experience everything as original wakefulness when they embrace it with the view. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, "What are the 3 degrees of progress in Dharmata?" The Master replied, "The following 3 degrees of progress have been taught. The measure of clarity is to be like an oil lamp that remains unmoved by the wind. The measure of motionlessness is to be like the water in the ocean's depths. The measure of lightness and smoothness is to be like a speck of cotton. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, what are the 3 signs of progress? The Master replied, they are these 3. The outer sign of progress is when you do not notice having a physical body. The inner is when the negative emotions do not arise. The innermost is when you are not directed toward any object whatsoever. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, how is the fruition attained? The Master replied, the yogi, who is the identity of the 3 kayas and 4 wisdoms, attains at the very moment he or she is free from the encasement of the body. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, how does the person of the foremost capacity resolve the view? The Master replied, he or she resolves the view of original wakefulness by means of these 9 analogies for the non-dual mind of spacious vastness. All phenomena are the mind of spacious vastness, unbiased like a wish-fulfilling jewel. Mind is an unformed spacious vastness, unchanging like the Vajra. This mind is a spacious vastness, beyond conceptual attributes, an imperceptible identity, like looking at dense darkness. Mind is an all-encompassing spacious vastness, immense like the sky. There is nothing other than this mind of spacious vastness. Like reflections on a large lake, everything experienced is not different from this mind. This mind is an originally awakened, spacious vastness, like the king's own child, that no one needs to doubt. This mind is a spacious vastness from which any possible experience can unfold, like the Indranila gemstone that can be perceived in manifold ways. Mind is an unchanging, spacious vastness, like pure gold, in that there is no transforming of the mind's nature, no matter the state of mind itself. The ninth spacious vastness is that everything is contained within mind. This the yogi resolves. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, "What determines the yogi's conduct?" The Master replied, "The yogi determines conduct by means of these analogies of enjoying with unattached skill, like skillfully enjoying reflections on the surface of a placid lake, like skillfully enjoying stars in a clear sky, like skillfully enjoying all that appears and exists within a wakened mind. Thus, there is no harm in enjoying the 5 sense pleasures when they are embraced with the view. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, "How does the yogi settle into the state of composure?" The Master replied, "The yogi should settle into the state of composure by means of these 3 unimpeded states of endless vastness. The unimpeded spacious state, that is the endless vastness of the senses. The unattached state, free of clinging, that is the endless vastness of dharmata, which never arises. The objectless state, that is the endless vastness, never moving away from self-knowing wakefulness. These 3 all mean to settle into composure while understanding the absence of fabrication." Lady Sogyal asked the Master, "How should the yogi gain the confidence of fruition?" The Master replied, "Here I shall teach, by means of analogies, that no fruition should be sought apart from experiencing whatever arises as the nature of mind. All phenomena are like reflections appearing on the surface of a great lake, or like the stars that appear in the sky, which do not appear somewhere else, but rather appear in the lake or the sky itself. In the same way, it is the nature of your self-knowing mind that is experienced as the fruition. It appears from you, and that which appears since the beginning is experienced as being your own display. So the fruition is experienced as you, yourself. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, "What cuts the root of thoughts?" The Master replied, "Here I shall teach how thoughts can naturally dissolve by means of 3 ways of improvement that transcend improving. The senses need no improving, since they clearly sense the sense objects. Dharmata needs no improving, since it never arises. Thoughts need no improving, since they are clearly seen to be original wakefulness. Why is that? Because it should be understood that everything is original wakefulness, since there is nothing other than mind. This is how thoughts naturally dissolve, since they are clearly seen to be dharmata. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, "Which key point explains how objects experienced do not need to be rejected?" The Master replied, "Here I shall teach by means of 6 analogies from the scriptures on self-liberated mind, describing how nothing needs to be rejected, since it is clearly seen. The senses need not be rejected while enjoying objects, since they are clearly seen to be dharmata, like an island of precious gold. Thoughts need not be rejected, since they are clearly seen to be original wakefulness, like adding wood to a fire. In dharmata, material things need not be rejected, since they are liberated without rejection, like the great Garuda bird who hatches from its egg with fully developed wings. There is no thing to be settled in the state of composure, since composure and post-meditation are indivisible, like a bird hovering in mid-air. There is no negative emotion to reject and no obscuration to purify, since everything, without exception, is mind. Just as no darkness exists to be cleared from the sun's orb. There is no need to separate mind and objects into two, since they are clearly seen not to be a duality, just as space cannot be divided into parts. In other words, these are experiences of 6 aspects that need no suppression, since Dharmata is clearly seen without suppression and cannot be suppressed even by attempting to do so. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, which key point explains how mind and Dharmata are indivisible? The Master replied, these 6 analogies for indivisibility express how mind and Dharmata are indivisible. Water and wetness cannot be separated. Fire and heat cannot be separated. A conch and its whiteness cannot be separated. Brocade and the brocade's pattern cannot be separated. The golden isle and its gold cannot be separated. Samsara and nirvana cannot be separated. Similarly, all things and all sentient beings cannot be separated within the single great sphere. Being and non-being cannot be separated, but are clearly seen to be mind, and hence the true original wakefulness. Also, things are mind, while mind is things, and therefore indivisible and no different. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, Which analogies illustrate that all that appears and exists occurs from oneself? The Master replied, "The same 6 analogies apply for the absence of sequence, illustrating how all that appears and exists is original wakefulness. The previous 6 simple analogies mentioned show indivisibility and an absence of sequence. In this way, there is no sequence between dharmata and all the things that appear and exist, dharmas, since they are all the great original wakefulness, which is self-known and occurring from oneself." Lady Sogyal asked the Master, "What can clear away the 8 hindrances and the narrow passages on the path of the yogi's mind?" The Master replied, "Here is how to clear away these obstructing 8 narrow passages on the path of the yogi's mind. They are cleared by realization, in that having cleared the narrow passage of dualistic perception, the yogi abides in the stronghold of the view beyond duality. Having cleared the narrow passage of thoughts, the yogi abides in the stronghold of non-thought. Having cleared the narrow passage of viewpoints, the yogi abides in the stronghold beyond viewing. Having cleared the narrow passage of accepting and rejecting, the yogi abides in the stronghold of nothing to be rejected. Having cleared the narrow passage of a perceiver and something perceived, the yogi abides in the stronghold of transcending perceiver and perceived. Having cleared the narrow passage of hope and fear, the yogi abides in the stronghold of awakened mind, evidently seen in oneself. Having cleared the narrow passage of clinging, the yogi abides in the stronghold of transcending something to grasp and hold. Having cleared the narrow passage of effort and achievement, the yogi abides in the stronghold of spontaneous perfection. Thus, by abiding in these 8 strongholds, everything is brought together within awakened mind, so that every type of narrow passage is cleared without accepting or rejecting. since he or she clearly sees that everything is mind, the narrowness of hope and fear is removed, and the spacious, wide open domain is reached. Lady Sogyal asks the Master, how does one discern reliable experiences? The Master replied, experiences are deemed reliable if they can be verified by 3 measures. Once you have understood the above points, they are realized by gaining trust in the experience of sublime statements, pith instructions, and your own intelligence. Moreover, after having gained such a deep trust within yourself, as you continue the training, your experience becomes clear in that your body feels light, your mind becomes lucid, you can see what is concealed, you have very few thoughts, and so forth. Continue without conceit, hope, or fear, so that even when the signs of progress naturally appear, you will no longer indulge in any boastful euphoria. Lady Sogyal asks the Master, how are side tracks and extreme beliefs eliminated? The Master replied, one should not follow in the tracks of these 8 and 9 types of beliefs. Do not follow the tracks of the 9 vehicles, or those of the 6 classes of beings, together with the extremist views of permanence and nothingness. When training in meditation, the yogi should not regard objects and mind as being separate, suppress interdependent phenomena, cultivate emptiness, or cultivate any duality, or the like. None of the 9 gradual vehicles should become a fixed stance. The 6 classes of beings are not transformed perceptions, but are ordinary positions. The extreme views of permanence and nothingness are distorted beliefs. The yogi is simply dharmata when he or she avoids following any of these beliefs and instead remains free of bias and prejudice. Lady Sogyal asked the Master, which key point makes one naturally free of attachment? The Master replied, the key point is that appearances are self-display and naturally dissolve through non-attachment. Appearances appear as the display of your awakened mind. As this is the case, when attached and clinging, see that your attachment is to no real object. Let the thought bloom, and the attachment will then naturally vanish. Appearances are self-display. Their emptiness is a natural emptiness, and any attachment clears just like air does. Lady Sogyal asked the Lotus Master, I beg you to bestow a way for any person, whether of the foremost, average, or lesser capacity, to decisively settle the awakened state right now. The Master replied, the root of all phenomena is contained within your own mind. This awakened mind is present in every living sentient being. Moreover, it is a single sphere of Dharmakaya and has neither shape nor colour. It has no substance or material characteristics. It is present as a vast, empty knowing that is uncreated since the very beginning. To recognize this experience to be self-existing is known as Samantabhadra of the view, or the single sphere of Dharmakaya. This single sphere, the Dharmata that is awakened mind, not made of anything whatsoever, is empty in essence and cognizant by nature. To simply remain in this continuous state is known as the meditation that combines the realization of all Buddhas. To remain in this state in which there is nothing to be cultivated, nor anything to stray towards, is known as the self-existing conduct beyond meeting and parting. Within this single sphere of Dharmakaya, there is nothing that is not purified perfection. From the mandalas of conquerors above to the hellish worlds below. All are equally purified perfection. Therefore, it does not differ whether in painful states or the awakened state, nor between Buddhas and sentient beings. Moreover, this is not something that was just created, but rather has been spontaneously present from the very beginning, and therefore the fruition Dharmakaya is a self-knowing wakefulness. It is seen right now by means of your Guru's instruction, and as it is not something that can be cultivated or achieved, it is purified perfection. I have nothing to teach besides this, so keep it in your heart, Lady of Ka-Chen. Lady Sogyo, the Princess of Ka-Chen, requested from the Master Padmasambhava these threefold meditation instructions for the benefit of people of foremost, average, and lesser capacity. She recorded them for the sake of future generations, and since they were not to be propagated at that time, she concealed them as precious earth treasures. May they meet with the yogi endowed with a karmic destiny. In future times, when you, the fortunate ones, meet with these teachings, your realization of the view's nature may be like an ocean, but still guard the relative cause and effect down to the finest detail. You may have understood the vast ocean of Dharmata's nature, but still keep an undistracted training like a pillar of gold. You may have realized the natural state of open mind, but still protect your samayas and precepts, stable and undamaged. You may have gained a realization of the ocean-like Dharmata's nature, but still respect sublime masters as you would the crown of your head. Your loving heart may be free of partiality, but still fulfill the wishes of your companions and all your Dharma friends. You may have seen the equal nature of the Buddhas and all beings, but still avoid like poison the 10 unvirtuous deeds and their results. You may have realized the fact that the Buddha is your mind, but still regard the sublime Yidam deity as dear as your own heart. You may have understood that suffering itself is greatest bliss, but still avoid creating all its causes, actions, and involvements. You may have transformed emotions into pristine wakefulness, but still avoid scorching your mind with flames of the 3 and 5-fold poisons. You may have experienced non-action as a state of greatest ease, but still exert yourself in goodness with the utmost diligence. You of future generations who claim to be meditators, if you keep a lofty view while your conduct is still crude, you risk remaining bound in the view of headness. If you profess emptiness while believing in nothingness, you risk straying into the nihilist extreme. If you train by imprisoning your mind in thoughtless dullness, you risk straying into the Shravaka cessation. If you claim that all is mind while acting frivolously, you risk straying into the triple lower realms. If you cling to the highest view while deriding other Dharma practices, you risk straying into the hellish states of endless pain. If you fail to seize the stronghold of unfabricated knowing, you risk straying into the 6 samsaric realms. If you meditate while believing that the mind is permanent, you risk straying into the extreme view of the eternalists. If you act as if you meditate while you haven't understood the mind, you risk straying onto a false path when you die. If, after having entered Dharma's gate, the precious lamp, you fail to strive towards supreme accomplishment within a single life, and instead continue worldly aims, so pointless and so tiresome, you risk straying where the Dharma and your mind are separated. Do not deceive yourself with unbalanced, foolish training, but endow yourself with all the wealth of true learning, contemplation, and meditation. Thus he instructed. the precious golden garland of meditation instructions for the benefit of people of foremost, average, and lesser capacity was given in the Slate Valley at Red Rock on the 8th day of the Dragon Year's 2nd autumn month. Sava Mangalam. May it be virtuous.